welcome. So I've been doing this for a month now, so I thought I'd do a quick allotment tour to see what I've achieved so far in the past 30 days for gardening for at least 10 minutes a day. Here we go then. Peas. Oh, we have a couple of flowers on. I need to string them up so they can have a little bit more strength to grow a bit bigger. But in the weather we've been having, I'm amazed that we've even managed to get a flower on. The cabbages that I planted and spinach and rocket have mostly survived. I'm amazed. The slugs haven't eaten them. The onions and the leek were left over from last year. The big garlics were too, and the lettuce. Onions, spring onions, and along here I planted when I planted the seeds, and garlic in the middle at the same time as well. These garlics here were all left in from last year. Some of them I won't let to get to maturity because I like to pull them out and use them like spring onions and chop them up in stir fries. This is chamomile. I have loads, oh dear me, loads dotted around the place. I've transplanted quite a bit as well. It was growing in the polytunnel. Raspberries, coming along well. Bronze fennel, that's just self-seeded from last year. I had already wood chipped all the paths before I started vlogging a month ago, but I've added some compost to the beds. I need to add compost to these beds before I start planting them. Up over here I planted more garlic and onions to infill where I had planted some previously. These smaller ones are the infills here that I planted. Onions that I planted last autumn. Look, coming along lovely. Here I planted spinach and rocket. That's doing well. I haven't covered it at all with any cover like fleece. I've just planted it straight in the ground. I feel we're pretty protected here. It'll just have to struggle along on its own. Onions here, I've planted all those, multi-soaked them earlier in the year into individual little sections of the container-wise containers. Strawberries, I've put all the straw down the other day to keep the strawberries off of the mud. Look at the lovely flowers coming along there. I haven't so far put straw down here. These are smaller plants I transplanted this year. I'm deciding whether to put straw down amongst that. It's kind of a little experiment, I think, to see which produces more, if they actually get dirty or not on the earth, whether this protects them from getting dirty. So I might leave it as I'm not. I left this in, but I thought all the plants, the flowers were pretty when I stripped the bed of all the purple sprouting broccoli earlier. So that's about it for the cage. Waiting for everything to come on to plant in here. Somebody gave me some broccoli yesterday, which I'm going to pot up, I think, first, give it a good water, and then plant in here after I've composted, added more compost, a little layer to whichever bed I choose to put it in. These onions here are really screaming to get in. This is what I've actually come down to do today, plant those. I sowed some carrots over here, experimenting again. Oh look here, look, actually coming up there, early Nantes. Is there any under the boards? No, so I just might leave the boards off. Here, this is Amsterdam Forcing. Yep. Any under this board? No. And this one is Oxheart, is it? Can't see anything there. Any under the boards? So my decision is made. I am going to just plant them in the future and not put boards over them, because they have definitely had more success coming up without being inhibited by a board, even though it kept the soil really damp. I transferred all the compost from the bin last year into the middle, so that is now resting and doing its stuff. This one was what I turned over last year, and I'm getting that out and sieving that and putting it on the compost beds. There's a chamomile that I transplanted out of the greenhouse. It's kind of hanging in there. Can you see all of my asparagus that I did sow 2 years ago? That's coming up. Not as many as... Oh no, actually they're all starting to come up now. I thought I'd had a bit of a failure with my asparagus bed. Can't eat it this year. Still too skinny. Hopefully next year will be the 3rd year that it will be actually coming out of the ground. We put the polytunnel cover back on the windiest day we could have chosen for that. And I have planted it up in here with rocket and onions and lettuce. Spinach was from last year. The pigeons ate that all winter when the cover was off, but that mustard spinach is coming back lovely now. Some more lettuce and onions there. We've got some radish accelerating away there. More lettuce at the back. And a dead grapevine that I'm hopefully will come back to life, but I don't have much hope for. My hanging basket of strawberries. And everything that I brought down yesterday from the greenhouse at home. Coming out of the polytunnel. I have planted lots of onions in the wood chips. Another experiment, see if they grow well in the wood chips, keeping the weeds away. But I can see quite a lot of weeds coming up. These actually were blackberry bushes that were there when we took the allotment over. We keep on trying to dig out, but they keep fighting their way back again, so I will pull those out in a little while. Here I planted more onions, but last year was our potato bed. And look, I can see quite a few potatoes coming up now. Might leave those. My shallot bed, I planted these. This has all sprung up in the last couple of days. Certainly wasn't here the other day. We've had loads more rain, so that's obviously encouraged those loads of weeds to come up. Over here I planted my broad beans. These are the Sutton, and they're kind of like dwarf broad beans. They look like they're doing quite well. Over here the other day I planted some rhubarb that somebody had given us and cleared all this bed out. And this is rhubarb that has been, yes, definitely since we took the allotment over, and I've had a good couple of pickings out of that. My artichokes that I planted a couple of years ago, doing really well, coming back again. I think I planted 5 originally, and we've got 4 come up this year. We made the new compost bins for the new allotment and have started filling those up. This again is the same system. Fill this bed up, this compost bin up. When it's full, turn it into this one and let it rot down, and then finally turn it into this one to sieve it out of, to go onto the beds. And then we have the new allotment that we took over because it was just 6 foot high in grass and blowing all the seeds onto us and next door's allotment. We hired a mini digger because it was just full of bricks and glass where they just come in and bulldozed all the sheds and greenhouses down and then left it. It all just grew up like a wild grass habitat, which was obviously amazing for the wildlife, the buzzy bees and the birdies, but not good for allotmenting. And then we've rotivated. Hopefully the only time to get it all nice and level and for me to make beds out of. I'm very much into no dig. But we'll see. So this is where the potato beds start that we planted, and all the way up to here, because we planted them so late this year we didn't have a lot of chance to plant them with all the rain we've had, but we managed to get down from a couple of weeks ago. So this row here that I've put cloches on are first earlies, and I think I've just seen my first, yes, potato coming through there, look. Oh, and I can see some more. They weren't there yesterday. Very exciting. And the only other thing I've done is plant some sunflowers along here, I think, that I found growing in the middle of the potato beds. Can you see there? When I was making them into potato beds. Well, that's a quick allotment tour for the last 30 days of what we have accomplished.